So I bought a new van. Yep, I just drove it off the lot. It's literally right there. It is now suddenly worth a fraction of what I paid for it. So I know in my last video I was talking about possibly getting a 2018 NV200 that I had found, a used one with about 21,000 miles on it or so. I ended up going to the dealership the next morning after finishing shooting that video there and looking at it one more time, and let's just say things didn't go very well. When I got to the dealership that morning, the salesman suggested that we take a look at the van one last time, go on another test drive, just to make sure that it was the right thing and all that, and I totally agreed with him. That was a good idea. Before I committed to any numbers or anything like that, I wanted to check it out one more time anyways, so we went for a test drive. That went totally fine, was totally normal, but then we got back to the dealership and I started poking around a little bit more, exploring things. I'm pretty detail-oriented when it comes to this sort of thing, and I started looking underneath the floor mat, and I noticed that there was a little bit of moisture down there, and it was actually kind of wet to the touch, and it smelled pretty moldy and kind of gross. They have these floor mats in these NV200s that come standard with them, and there's like a sound deadening material below that. It's like a cotton type material, and it had definitely absorbed some water. I figured that there was some kind of leak in that van coming from somewhere, but that's actually not the worst part of this story. It gets worse from this point on. So naturally I start pulling up the floor a little bit, trying to figure out where the parts are wet, what parts aren't wet, where the leak is coming from, trying to figure out where the source is. Sales guy's looking at me like I'm completely crazy, but this is an important thing. Like, I want to know where it's leaking from if I'm going to be living in this thing and turning it into a camper. And so I start looking around, and then, I kid you guys not, a bunch of cockroaches start crawling out from underneath the floor in this NV200. And when I say a bunch, I don't mean just one or two. There were bugs living everywhere underneath the floor of this van. I don't really like bugs very much, so I decided not to buy that one. The morning before going to that dealership, I actually found this guy listed online at a dealership about a half hour away, not too far outside of San Antonio. And this one, just like the one I was just talking about, is also a 2018. It's the exact same trim, has the same rear window package, the same backup camera, everything is exactly the same, except this one is brand new, and it was priced less than the used one with the cockroaches that I was looking at earlier in the morning. In the end, I ended up paying maybe $400 more for this brand new van with 21,000 less miles and the full length of the 5-year, 100,000 mile bumper-to-bumper warranty on it than I would have for the cockroach van. So I'm pretty excited about it. The reason was it's a 2018. It was the last of the new 2018s that this dealership had, and these dealerships are incentivized by Nissan to move those vans and to get rid of them, especially when they have so many 2019s coming in a short period of time. They don't want to have 2018s around anymore. So I was able to get a good deal. I got it way below dealer invoice, probably a better deal than I could have ever imagined. So I'm really excited, and I'm really looking forward to getting started on the conversion. From the outside, the Element and the Envy, when compared side by side, don't really look that different, at least not in terms of how long they are. I think they're probably pretty close to the same size, but when you get inside the Envy here, you can tell it's definitely a little bit bigger. It's wider, it's got a little bit more headroom, and obviously the main reason why I bought it, like I said in the last video, is so that I'll be able to install a pop top and eventually be able to stand up all the way. I'm going to set up a cooking station, a little kitchen area, and be able to stand up all the way, weather permitting, and be able to cook. So even though it doesn't really look like much, it is definitely a little bit bigger, and it's going to allow for a lot more usable space once I get this project finished. So my first step in the conversion process is going to be ripping up the floor, the factory floor that's in here. I want to get it down to the bare metal, and then I'm going to be installing a laminate floor myself. So that's going to be the first project. Then I'll move on to the walls. I'm not really 100% sure what I'm going to do with them yet. I've seen a bunch of different conversions with these small vans. Some people put stuff on them. Most people just kind of leave them the way that they are, but I don't know. I got to figure that out. And then it'll be actually creating like the furniture and the shelving and the things that are going to, allow me to live in here full time. Probably not going to be starting this project today though, because it is raining out right now. But the ceiling I'm not going to do anything with. I'm going to leave it exactly as it is because I need to allow the pop-top company to actually cut the roof off and install the pop-top. So I'm going to try to leave that untouched as much as I can, especially if I can get in there and get scheduled to get the pop-top on pretty soon. My plans for the camper conversion and how I'm actually going to have things set up in here mostly stem from what I don't like about the Element camper right now, and there are definitely quite a few things that I don't really like too much, don't really like having to deal with. The first thing is the bed setup. It's not that my current bed in the Element is particularly uncomfortable or anything like that. It's fine, it does the job, I get a pretty decent night's sleep. The mattress is getting pretty worn out, it's about 3 years old, and it's only about 3 inches of foam, so it's not really super thick or anything like that. I would like to make it more comfortable, but the most difficult thing is probably that I have to break down the bed and set it up every single night, and that process, it's not really hard to do that, but the issue is that I have to move the front seats forward in the Element in order to create enough space to set up the bed. So if I want to get up in the middle of the night and drive away, heaven forbid there's an emergency or something like that, I mean, I can't do that right now. There's no way for me to just hop in the driver's seat and drive away. But in the NV here, there is about 2 extra feet of space, so I can have a full bed ready to go, break it down, set it up however I want to do it. But either way, regardless of what I do, I'm still going to always be able to jump into that driver's seat and drive away. So I'm going to try to design my bed with that in mind, and then also with comfort in mind, so that I have something that's a little bit more comfortable for me to sleep on every night. The second thing that I don't particularly like about the Element camper right now is that I don't really have a space to be able to set up and comfortably work. I've tried it with the setup in the back with like a TV tray, and my head was always hitting the ceiling. There just wasn't quite enough headroom. I've tried it in the front with that desk setup that my grandfather and I built, but the issue with that is that it kind of like locks me in. Like when I set it up, I can't get up and move. Like I have to break the whole thing down in order to get up, and it's really pretty uncomfortable if I want to like get up and stretch for a minute or something like that, because then I have to take the whole thing apart. There's just not enough space for my legs under there as well, so it tends to get pretty uncomfortable pretty quickly. So the second goal, first one is the bed. The second one for this conversion is going to be able to have a workstation that I can spend hours editing at and not have any problems and be comfortable. And the last thing that I'm thinking about really making sure that I do on this project is designing the shelving and the storage and whatnot to be able to fit my needs a little bit better. In the Element, sometimes it's a little bit of a pain to get the things that I need, stuff that's stored underneath, or in particular like food and whatnot. Like I have that one gap in that cabinet that I have on the side, and I kind of just stuff everything in there, and sometimes it's really hard to get stuff that I want. Like if I'm trying to make a sandwich, I can't find the bread and stuff like that. Like where'd the peanut butter go? You know, these are just things that I deal with every day. So I want to design everything as I'm creating this cabinetry, as I'm creating all of the shelving and whatnot. I want to be able to be thinking about what exactly I'm going to use each compartment for and design them so that they're designed to fit the things that I use on a day-to-day basis. I have a feeling I'm going to be spending a lot of time making trips to Home Depot and Lowe's over the next couple of weeks. Yesterday evening I decided to go and get the stuff for the flooring, the subfloor, the plywood that I'm going to use, some insulation, and the actual laminate vinyl flooring that I'm going to use as well. And I went to Home Depot. I wasn't really happy with their selection, so I went to Lowe's, found what I wanted. I go to check out at Lowe's, and my credit card chip didn't work on their machine, and they were really not helpful, which is, I guess, to be expected, but they told me to leave, and then I ended up, like, coming back and saying, can we just try another machine? And they said, yeah, sure, we can do that. And we tried a different machine, and I was able to get it, but then they also put all the stuff away, so I had to, like, go get all the stuff in the store before we could try the different checkout machine, and then there were no problems. Then I went to Home Depot, and I bought the plywood, and I got out to the van, and I'm about to load in the plywood, and I can't fit the plywood in the van, so I had to go back into Home Depot and wait a while for someone to come and make the cut on the plywood so that I could fit it, and it was just a disaster, and I feel like this is just going to happen a lot. I definitely think this van build process is going to be an exercise in learning patience and just kind of being able to deal with weird things as they come up. I'm not expecting it to go perfectly smoothly. I definitely am no expert in carpentry or woodworking or anything like that, so it's going to be a learning experience for me, but I do want to share each step with you guys, and I'm going to try to make a couple of videos documenting this experience as I get started. I'm hoping to get started with the floor as soon as I finish this video here, so that's pretty much where I am. I do want to get it done done relatively quickly. I want to get back on the road. I've been in San Antonio for a while now. I'm kind of itching to get out there. And I do have my friends here. They have a bunch of tools that I can use, and they're also will be around to help out a little bit here and there. So I'm looking forward to just trying to knock this thing out as quickly as I can and do the best job that I can with it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to y'all in the next video.